Today we're going to be comparing a $16 Amazon ceramic coating versus a $320 handmade in Japan ceramic coating. In just a minute, we're gonna slap a line down the center of this hood, apply our cheap coating and our expensive coating to the respected sides, and then run it through some tests. We're gonna see what the hydrophobicity is like on each side, do some harsh chemical testing to see what they can hold up to, and then we're gonna break some myths. So we're gonna apply some paint to it, see if that paint is removable. Maybe we'll light it on fire and then do some more aggressive durability testing. But before any of that, we're gonna take a little bit of a look at these coatings and see how they differ. Our first coating here came from Amazon. This is the $15.99 coating, and that is in Canadian, so if it's American, maybe $11.50. It's made by a company called Wiruxin. It's a 10H hardness coating, and on the back of the box, it says it comes with a 2-year warranty, but on the actual listing, it says it'll last 10 plus years on your vehicle outside, which is insane. There are 2,461 reviews on this product, equaling a 4.2 star average. I don't know who those 2,461 people are, but clearly they know something that I don't. I've never used a product even remotely close to this price range, so needless to say, I'm quite excited to see how it stands up to a product that I have been using for quite a couple years now. On the completely other side of the price spectrum, we have Zip and Coat by Kamikaze. If you're familiar with some of this channel, we often use Miyabi, ISM, and Stance, which are other coatings by Kamikaze. They're all incredible. They're very, very good. In my opinion, this is the pinnacle of the coating, both price range and quality spectrum. They're handmade in Japan, and like other things that are handmade in Japan, they're very, very, very good. So this coating claims a semi-self-healing, and I don't know if I love that terminology when it comes to ceramic coatings, but I think we'll get into that a little later when we do some scratch testing on both products. One thing to note, this is a 30 milliliter bottle. The Amazon coating was 50 ml, so for a very, very small fraction of the price, you're actually getting almost double the coating. That's not very imperative to my decision making, but it may be to you. coatings have their first layer on the paint now, so it's the cheap side on the left and the expensive side on the right. I'm gonna wait 2 hours before I apply the second layer. Once that time is up, we'll throw it on and then wait 24 to 48 hours before we put any liquid or anything on this paint. Both coatings are now applied with 2 layers each. Both brands actually recommended 1 to 2 layers, and they also recommended 1 to 2 hours between application. So that's exactly what I did. I waited 2 hours, and things to note during the application process, both coatings were a lot easier to apply the second time. You could tell that the first layer had cured and removed the surface tension between the clear coat and the actual microsuede. So it really glides on a lot easier. It feels a lot more smooth, which is nice because you can tell that the first layer is curing and it's actually an effective ceramic coating. However, the Kamikaze was a lot more difficult to remove or level out. I'm assuming this is because it's a much more viscous product. Some of the self-healing coatings are going to be a lot thicker because they require more material to actually be self-healing. So I will chalk it up to that. However, in terms of longevity or performance of a ceramic coating, I wouldn't take that into consideration at all. My favorite brand, extremely high quality, extremely long lasting, is extremely easy to remove. It's very, very thin, and I love that because it just speeds up the process, but it doesn't affect longevity or performance at all. So as much as I'd like to factor that in right now, it's not a huge deal. So we're gonna wait 24 to 48 hours before we actually touch the panel with anything. We're gonna use some light detergent, some stuff you might use during a car wash, and then some much more extreme stuff that some ceramic coating companies are claiming that the coating can hold up to. So we're gonna see if they're right, but first, 24 hours. We're back 2 days later. I waited the full 48 hours just to give it the most time to cure as possible. Visually, you're not going to notice any difference between these two coatings. Slickness wise, they both feel very good. They're both very slick. I think if you wanted to, you could maybe convince yourself that the Kamikaze side is a little bit more slick, but I think that's just going to be placebo. So what we're going to do is move right in to the water testing. Amazon side, you can tell that the water beads are a lot less structured compared to the Kamikaze side. However, when water is applied to the Amazon side, it seems to sheet off more. You can tell that there's less water on the Amazon half than there is the Kamikaze half. It's not much, it's very little, but I think it is something to note. Water behavior, I'd say the two coatings are pretty equal. The Amazon coating sheeted just a little bit better, while the Kamikaze coating beaded quite a bit better. And I think one of those isn't better than the other. It kind of comes down to personal preference and what you want from your ceramic coating on your car. Personally, I prefer that tighter bead and that the more beads on the vehicle. Cars to me are a very visual experience rather than a very technical one, so seeing it makes me happy. I want that. I know there's definitely some detailing nerds that are going to say that sheeting is better because it's more effective to remove water off the clear coat, therefore resulting in less staining and etching. But some of us care about detailing products, some of us care about cars. For me, it's more so cars and the overall experience. So it's going to be beads any day. Now we're going to apply Coach Chemie GFX via a foam can. Going to mid it into the paint and then see how the water behavior changes when removing the soap from the panel, and see if one of them is easier or harder to remove the actual soap from the panel. See if it gets pushed around or if it just scoots right off. I've just sprayed Carpro Iron X all over the hood. This is a fallout remover. A lot of people believe that this is too harsh for ceramic coatings, when in reality it was actually designed to clean ceramic coatings and maintain their hydrophobicity without having to use things like clay bar or other more aggressive methods. As you can see on the panel, this is a bit shocking. So on the Kamikaze side, you can see that it's kind of beating up. But on the Amazon side, it's kind of hit it like a dry panel or a panel with no protection on it. which could be telling of the sheeting versus beading, but I'm assuming this is starting to break down this coating a little bit, even though it shouldn't. But we have to remember we're talking about a $16 coating versus something over $300 here. So I'm gonna wait 1 more minute, I'm gonna rinse this, and then we'll see if it had any actual effects on the hydrophobicity of the coatings. I thought it was deteriorating the Amazon coating a little bit, but it wasn't. It was just how it was reacting on the panel. Both seem to be perfectly intact, with the Kamikaze coating still beading and the Amazon coating still sheeting, which is very interesting. If you look how much less water is on the Amazon panel, hypothetically that is a better reaction, but again, personal preference. So now what I'm gonna do is take some undiluted super clean degreaser that I'm currently using to clean oil off the underside of this E30 that the soda's from, and to spray it directly on the panel. I'm gonna leave it for a 5-minute total and come back and then see what we're working with after that. Once the chemicals are done, I'm gonna start doing some different stuff, like spraying some paint on it, seeing if it's removable, and then some scratch testing as well, because I'm interested to see what 10H hardness actually means and what self-healing means, because you know what? I'm not exactly even sure. Much unexpectedly, the undiluted super clean killed both coatings. You could argue that there might be 5% left, but the reason the water is still kind of moving is most likely just because the panel is very flat because it was polished recently. Coatings are dead, which may come as a surprise. I'm a bit shocked. However, something to consider is that you may be thinking, oh, when is a raw undiluted degreaser going to be on my paint? But the chemicals used in automatic car washes are extremely harsh and most of the time extremely alkaline, which could offer you similar results to this if you're running your car through it enough. Your very expensive or very affordable coating could be completely diminished in just a few washes, which is crazy to me, but it is what it is. Cars are very sensitive. I didn't necessarily expect this to happen, so what I'm gonna do now is recoat both sides in the same coating, wait another couple days, and then we're gonna move on to some more fun tests. I'm gonna call them some stuff I've seen in some ads for coatings that is a little bit obscure and a little bit unnecessary, but I'm interested in trying. So flash forward to Sunday, I guess. I recoated both sides, 2 layers, waited 2 days, and I'm just gonna hit it with some water just to show you that it is in fact there. Then we'll move on to some other tests. Next up, we're gonna do some scratch testing. So I'm gonna take this stiff bristle brush from Geon, do 10 small circles on each side of the panel. I'll try and distribute the weight as equal as I can. Obviously, it's not gonna be perfect, but the Amazon coating is 10H hardness, allegedly, meaning it should be harder than your OEM clear coat, making it somewhat scratch resistant. I'm not sure if that's gonna be true or not. The Kamikaze coating is self-healing, so in theory, when your vehicle is outside in the sun and that panel or that ceramic coating gets hot, some of those scratches, maybe the smaller ones, should diminish. Obviously, it's winter, it's cold, and it's definitely not sunny, so I'm gonna take a heat gun and try and replicate some of that scenario, see if I can get any of those scratches to remove themselves from both coatings, the Kamikaze and the Amazon coating. Will it work? I guess we'll find out. To my surprise, most of the scratches came out on the Kamikaze side, and quite a lot of them came out on the Amazon side. Of course, it's going to be very hard to pick up on camera, but those vertical scratches you're seeing, those were there prior. We're mainly focused on the circular ones. But yeah, definitely hard to pick up on camera. You're just going to have to trust me on this one. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool, and I'm very surprised with it. Now, we're going to take some spray paint, do a couple lines across the panel. I don't know if anyone remembers, but there was these Ceramic Pro ads a couple years ago where they used to spray paint on a panel that was coated and a panel that wasn't, remove it, and show you how much easier it was able to be removed from the coated panel versus it just sticking entirely to the uncoated panel. So I want to test that. However, what they did, they'd spray it on and remove it right away, so it was essentially removing just water. What I'm going to do is spray it on, leave it probably about 5 minutes, give it some time to actually cure to the panel, and then I'll take some O&R on a microfiber towel and see how much we can remove and see if one side is easier than the other. Another somewhat unexpected result. So the paint came off the Kamikaze side pretty easy. There was obviously still some scrubbing, but it did fully come off, and there wasn't really that much marring left behind from the towel. So that's interesting. On the Amazon side, it didn't come off at all. It was extremely hard even to get the microfiber towel to even leave some marks in it, and that was somewhat telling right when I initially sprayed it. This one laid flat, and you could tell that the Kamikaze one was beating towards the edges, and you could tell it wasn't really linking with the clear coat, which is interesting. Obviously, in the world of driving, this isn't a huge concern. It's more so just a fun test to see what the coatings are capable of, like this next test, where we're going to see how fire does on this panel, and if it changes, I guess if it changes the hydrophobicity or it changes the look of the panel whatsoever. This is another test that I've seen companies do for I don't know what reason other than shock factor, and that is the same reason that I'm going to do it right now. that concludes this ceramic coating test. These controlled tests are more so just fun than anything else. To get a real performance test on a ceramic coating versus another one, it's nearly impossible. If one coating is in a certain environment, taken care of a certain way, and another one is in another, there's just no telling which one is better. I'm positive I could get that Amazon coating to last longer than the Kamikaze coating, given the proper environment, preferably California with weekly washes versus Canada getting washed maybe every 3 to 4 months during the winter. It's up to you, the consumer, the ceramic coating owner. But these tests are fun, so I do plan to do others with other detailing products, not always coatings. We'll test some other stuff and see what kind of results we can get and see what kind of fun we can have with them. If you made it this far in the video, thank you. And I'm going to try and do one of these a month, more detailed product oriented, and see what we can come up with.